Okay, and welcome to Level Up Test Prep. I have a master's degree in American history. I asked ChatGPT to make a high school level test for me. We're going to see, was it any good? Well, come take the test with me. Okay. Part 1, Causes of the Revolution. What was the main purpose of the Stamp Act of 1765? Well, I'm going to let you know right off the bat, disclaimer, this is actually a 5th grade level question. So I asked ChatGPT to make me a high school level test, and they actually produced a 5th grade level question. This is basic recall memory. You could just create flashcards to remember the different acts. It's also worth noting my resume is in the bio, but if you don't want to click out, just check this. I have experience as a middle school teacher, a high school teacher, and as a college tutor. So I am very well equipped as to what is a 5th grade level question versus a 9th grade level question. So let's examine the test, and let's assume that you actually forget what the Stamp Act is. Let's say you just forgot or you didn't study. You can still use historical reasoning and critical thinking to answer not only this question, but many others. So let's check it out. It says Stamp Act, so I'm going to assume it has something to do with stamps, and I also see it's in 1765. Why is that relevant? Well, I know that this is pretty early in the Revolution. We know that there's causes of the Revolution, so this is all going to be presumably before 1776. So what was the main purpose? I'm going to give you a level up test prep cheat code. I believe I can explain the American Revolution to you in one chart. So let's draw it out. Up here, I'm going to title this Revolution. Down here, I'm going to title it Reform. This is going to stand for time. And this is going to be 1776. This is going to be 1763. And this chart is going to explain the American Revolution. It's going to start off as a reform effort. The colonists just want better treatment from Britain and the Crown and Parliament. Over time, these reform efforts are going to fail, and the revolution will radicalize the reform efforts will fail and turn into a revolution. Around here, I'm going to say this is going to stand for point of no return. At some point, the reform efforts are going to fail, and the revolution is not necessarily a matter of if it will happen, it's a matter of when it will happen. So let me write that out. So point of no return. And we're going to say around here is 1774. That's when a lot of historians felt that the revolution was inevitable, that it was not a matter of if it would happen, it was a matter of when it would happen. And by 1775, we know that that's when the Battle of Lexington and Concord happened. And here is going to be July 4th, 1776. So remember this. The Revolutionary era started out as reform. They simply wanted better treatment and still wanted to be colonists. In fact, they loved being part of the British Empire. They felt that their liberties were protected. Sadly, over time, the reform efforts will fail. It will radicalize. It will accelerate. It will reach a point of no return. And historians say it's around 1774. And eventually the revolution is going to take place on July 4th. So if we know that, this is going to be our cheat code. When in doubt, just remember this. Reform, point of no return, revolution, over time, eventually is going to take flight. So what was the main purpose of the Stamp Act of 1765? Was it to punish Massachusetts for the Boston Tea Party? Well, I can rule this out because even if I don't know what the Stamp Act is, or forget, even though I shouldn't because it's 5th grade, I know that this is at least 1773, which is also a pretty basic fact, and I can just rule that out based on the timeline. Next, to enforce religious conformity. Now, when I think about the Declaration of Independence, I don't think about religion. I don't think about the American Revolution as being a religious war. It wasn't as if it was Protestants versus Catholics. It did not really behave like the religious wars of Europe or throughout Asia. So it's not about splitting the church. It's not about consolidating power. Religion isn't going to be a central theme in why the war was fought. So if I even just look at the code words here, so religious, conformity, and stamps, what would those two have to do with each other? I would say there's nothing there. So there's 2 ways we could have figured out this is not the correct answer. Okay, to regulate trade with Native Americans and to tax colonists on paper goods. Now, I can understand that the stamps have to do something with regulating trade because there was a lot of paperwork in proving trade. But why would they do it to the Native Americans? They've already had relations with the Native Americans since the 1600s. They had the French and Indian War, and in 1763, they signed a treaty. Now, this relationship was always violent, exploitative, cruel. However, they still did have a working understanding of how to work with Native Americans, how to either take their land, wage war with them, create alliances, trade routes. So there was a long-established relationship. Why would they just regulate trade now? Now, let's check out B to finalize our answer. To tax colonists on paper goods. Well, this makes sense because this refers to the colonists and not Native Americans. Again, I don't understand why it would be directed at Native Americans. And to tax paper goods. Okay, well, paper and stamps go hand in hand. So there's our answer. B, to tax colonists on paper goods. Now, again, even if I forgot what the Stamp Act was about, just reading this and trying to use historical thinking and establishing a timeline can help me negotiate my way to the correct answer. So 1773 is too far down the line. Again, if I just know that the Brits and Native Americans had a relationship starting in the 1600s, I can already just rule out that the Stamp Act was really directed to that. And there we go. So this is a 5th grade level test question, which means if you are a student looking to use ChatGPT in high school, it will not help you. But I can. So hit up Level Up Test Prep. Click subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Add a comment to let me know how you did on this question or how you would approach it. And please check out my resume to see all of my past experience. I have a master's degree in American history. I worked for College Board, Study.com, Tutors.com, ETS, and I'm more than happy to book a session with any client. So I hope you learned something, and please follow the channel for more questions. I have a few more to go. Thank you. Peace.